Alright, party people, this is going to be a long one. Just warning you, we are in chapter 2, but we go into chapter 3 of Barack Obama. Alright, so in chapter 2 of Obama's book, Promised Land, he speaks on his mother who was in the hospital fighting cancer. She had cancer in her uterus and it was spreading. Then in November 1995, while Obama was on his way to catch a flight to Hawaii to visit his mother while she was in the hospital, he had gotten a phone call from his sister Maya saying that their mother had sadly passed away from the cancer. He also speaks on the fall season of 1997 when he had gotten a phone call from his wife Michelle that she was pregnant and he was going to be a father. Then the next year in '08, his daughter was born, July 4th, Malia and Obama. And I didn't say and Obama, I said Malia and Obama. That's his mom's first name. So that's kind of cool because I named my daughters with that. No. My daughter's got my mother's middle name. He would stay up late with the baby so Michelle could sleep and she would have the baby during the day. On top of all this, he was working 3 jobs, and after a few months after giving birth, Michelle went back to work and they had hired a nanny. They started arguing more than usual, with Obama recalling his wife Michelle saying, and I quote, that this is not what she signed up for. She said she felt like she was doing everything by herself and he was hurt about that. Not really sure what they expected if he had 3 jobs and she had a job and a brand new baby, but you know, to each their own. He speaks on running for Congress in 1999 with the motivation of continuing Harold Washington's legacy. The race instead became a disaster for Obama, in which only 2% of the voters even knew who Obama was at the time, and he lost the race to a man named Bobby Rush by 30 points. He went to a Democratic National Convention in Las Vegas, but when he touched down and went to get a rent-a-car, his card declined because his American Express card was over its limit. He says, and I quote, I was almost 40, broke, coming off a humiliating defeat, and with my marriage strained, unquote. And I'm like, nigga, I feel you, because I am coming off of a humiliating defeat. Start bitching. Only problem I ain't got is the marriage stray. But we must continue. Also saying that he had became the very thing that he also said that he was becoming the very thing that when he was younger, he warned himself of becoming, saying that he had finally become a politician. And he said he wasn't a very good one. So that sucks. You trying to be something that you didn't even want to be in the first place, and you suck at it. That's fucked up. 3 years later, on June 10th in 2001, is when his other daughter, Sasha, was born. And for the next 2 years, he lived a quieter life. Then, once Sasha turned 2, he rededicated himself to his work in the state senate while still teaching students at the law school he was working at. So, he continues to speak on how he was going to run for U.S. Senate, also saying that he would be the only African American in the Senate at the time, and with it being that he would have to stop practicing law to avoid conflict of interest, which is fucked up also, and because of that, him and his wife's funds would be low. But saying that with the publicity he would get from being the only African American in the Senate, he would be able to write another book and sell a lot of copies in order to get money that way. His wife Michelle said, and I quote, this is it, Barack, one last time, but don't expect me to do any campaigning. In fact, you shouldn't even count my vote, unquote. I can't believe you, Michelle. I read her book. Her book was actually good. People were telling him that his idealism was stirring, but unless he can raise $5 million to get it on TV so people can actually hear it, then he doesn't stand a chance in the race for the U.S. Senate. He mentions that in 2003, he also wanted to build a campaign that was less about policy papers and more about connecting one-on-one with voters. He also says that given the post 9/11 mood of the country, the national polls at that time showed as many as 67% of Americans were in favor of taking military action against Iraq. Quoting from a friend, he says, and I quote, America likes to kick ass. I thought that was was funny. We do like to kick ass. There was a anti-war rally in October of 2002 in downtown Chicago, Illinois, where Obama had been invited to speak against the United States invasion of Iraq. But this nigga stepped on stage to the microphone and he says, and I quote, "Let me begin by saying that although this has been billed as an anti-war rally, and I stand before you as someone who is not opposed to war in all circumstances," unquote. This nigga said, Obama said, I'm with all the smoke. The crowd goes quiet as he continues. He further explains how his grandfather volunteered in the fight in the Pearl Harbor and says that what he is opposed to is a dumb war. And what he thought he needed to do was what he thought we needed to do as America was to finish the job against Al Qaeda and wean America off Middle Eastern oil. That's where Elon comes in handy. Come on, Elon. The news reporters barely mention Obama's presence at the rally at all. But of course, something amazing happened. You know, back then MySpace was slapping, and for some reason, Blogs was also slapping. So his new volunteers advertised him on MySpace and Blogs. And for you guys who don't know what MySpace is, it was basically Facebook. Before Facebook, MySpace was like the first Facebook. And pretty much they got flooded with new volunteers, and they were getting a shitload of donations from people. His voice was being heard so much that he started to get popular and was being invited to speak more and more at different events. And at a particular event, they were expecting maybe 100 or so people at a park downtown Illinois. But while on the way there, a man named Jeremiah, who was the downstate director, called Obama and told him, and I quote, "Right now, they're counting at least 500 people," unquote. Hey, that's wild. If you're only expecting 100 people and you get there and it's 500, you be like, oh shit, it's smacking. Obama's daughter Malia asked, "What are all these people doing here in the park?" And Obama's wife Michelle says, and I quote, "They're here to see daddy," unquote. And every stop after that, they were met. Pretty much every stop after that, the crowds just kept on getting bigger and bigger. There's a funny ass politician named Alan Keyes who said, and I quote, "Jesus Christ himself would not vote for Barack Obama." Hey, hey, oh, these niggas be tripping, man. There was a guy named Jack Ryan who was a Republican that Obama was running against for U.S. Senate, and he was paying people to follow Obama around with cameras and record him, trying to catch him in some sort of shenanigans, even when he was with his wife and kids. And Obama says he had nothing to do with this next part, but I'm pretty sure that he probably did. So they ended up getting some dirt on this guy, Jack Ryan, who was a banker that quit his job as a banker and started teaching at schools for disadvantaged kids. But the dirt that they got on him was because of his divorce, in which his ex-wife says that the reason for the divorce was because he had pressured her to visit sex clubs and try to coerce her into having sex in front of strangers. And after that information got put out, Jack Ryan withdrew from the race 1 week later. This guy's a swinger. He said, "I don't want to just have sex with my wife. I want to have sex with my wife and have sex with a whole bunch of other people." This guy must be super sure of his penis size because he wants people to watch him and his wife fucking, apparently. Then in 2004, I'm not really sure what Axe is. I'm going to have to look it up to figure out if it's a person or a corporation. I think it's a person though. I think it's the last name of a person. But Axe had Obama shoot 2 television ads. The first one had him speaking directly into the camera, ending with the tagline, "Yes, we can." And Obama thought this was corny, but Axe appealed to a higher power, which was Michelle Obama, who basically said that it wasn't corny. And pretty much that was it, because he always says that she's more hip than him and she got more rep out here in these streets than he does, basically. So if she says it ain't corny, then it ain't corny. And we're done now, man. We're in chapter 3 on page 54, and that's where we're stopping at. And I'll get back at you next week with some more hot shit. We get them vocals in yet?